The boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The one, the only Sportcat, exhausted, but here to do my duty today. We are live over on the YouTubes. Come find us. Just search out the Sportcat shows, and you'll find us, and you can join our chat. We encourage you to. We have Denise already here. Hello, Denise. Good morning. Good afternoon. It's Monday, isn't it? It feels like a Monday. Yeah. And hello, Chris. How are you today? I'm glad everybody's here, and we're going to get kicked off. Couple little program notes. Well, first off, in case anybody remembers, we talked about my dog Ginger. Blood work is back and everything is okay. So she's just a fat kid. So she's good. She's just got to go on a puppy diet. I need to go on a puppy diet too. I just need to go on a diet. So there is that. And then if you notice, there's a little bit of format change with YouTube, Facebook. We are no longer the pair are normal guys. We are the Sportcat Show Wednesday night. There's lots of reasons for that, but it is what it is. So we're changing that. And of course, we're also still the Sportcat Daily Gazette, which we will continue to broadcast from 1 till 3, Monday through Friday. Yeah, I'm drooling on myself. Monday through Friday. And then Wednesday night, we will have the Sportcat Show where we'll still have paranormal people. We'll still have Bigfoot people. That's still going to be a thing. We're just going to switch the name up because we were starting to get some big name guests and some TV interest, but everybody was concerned that we were just paranormal only, and I couldn't get past the stigma with the name. And then I got tired of the infighting in the paranormal world, and so I said, you know what? Deuces, we're out. So, and I got some nut running around YouTube complaining about my videos. So, hey, there is that. There was something on my screen. What the hell was that? I don't know. Anyhow, so it's been crazy past few days. So I'm here. I'm exhausted, but we will continue to carry on. All right. Well, let's bring up the other stream here. I'm going to try and edit my new graphic here if everybody likes it. Me and AI have become buddies. I can't seem to. Yeah, that's close enough. Yes, they are just going nuts. They actually found a video from 2024 from the old Misfit show to lodge a YouTube complaint on. So I'm on 90-day probation with YouTube right now. So yeah, there is that. All right. So I guess I'll be good. I won't call Democrats out. All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are. We look at the clock here and we see that it's 11:09 a.m. in Denver, 10:09 a.m. in California, Anchorage, 9:09, 7:09 in Honolulu. Chris, good afternoon in Chicago at 12:09. And we skip down here and we see in Perth, goodness gracious, it's 1:09 a.m. Good morning to you. In Usala, 1:54. Darwin, 2:39 a.m. Sydney, good morning to you. 3:09 a.m. Lord Howe, 3:39. And if you're in Bermuda, good morning. It's 2:09 there. So good morning to you, wherever you are. And we looked at the map here and we see that, well, it's just starting to get daylight over towards the west side of the world. So, oh yeah, they went way back. So it's not the first time it's happened, and it'll happen again. But this time I got a more serious strike rather than a complaint. So F them. So I'm just gonna, yesterday I was so in the mood to just say, screw it. I'm done with doing this. I'm not going to do this anymore because, all right. So if you see this is the live White House press camp. Lord, wake up, Glenn. This is the live White House press camera. Well, it's not live, but they will be live. There's supposed to be some big announcement in about 50 minutes. And we will try and hop over there and see what it's all about just in case it's something important. Chances are pretty good it's probably not, and we're going to talk about some of the things that are possible topics here in just a second. But let's go ahead and start off our show on, like every day else. By the way, is my audio okay, everybody? See, I sounded like I was weak. I am weak. I'm tired. I had a family have a medical emergency overnight. Was it Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night. So I was up all night Sunday night, and then last night was ugh. So Ginger woke me up at 8. I was like, no, just let me go back to sleep. So, but she didn't want to. So, oh well. All right. So, not that you all cared. I'm just rambling. It's funny I did that. I just watched a new channel that I'm probably going to follow called Squirrel Talk, and she was going off on telling her prepper tip of the day or whatever, and then she just got into this long ramble, and she goes, well, I don't guess you guys really cared about that, did you? I'm thinking, well, hell, I'm still tuned in, so I must. So she's like, somebody asked me how to teach people to do this on YouTube, and I don't know how to. Agreed. So, all right. So on this day in history, September 2nd, 31 BC, Battle of Acetum, decisive naval battle that effectively ends the Roman Republic. Octavian's forces defeats those under Mark Antony. Hey, wait a minute. He's my hypnosis. He's a guy in Australia that I like to follow with hypnotherapy. And Cleopatra off the western coast of Greece. It's funny. We have records and things that happened way back then. 1192, Sultan Saldan and King Richard the Lionheart of England signed the Treaty of Jaffa, ending the Third Crusade in a compromise neither is happy with. Treaties leaves Jerusalem under Islamic control with Christian pilgrimage rights and restores the Kingdom of Jerusalem. 1666, the Great Fire of London began at 2 a.m. in Pudding Lane. 80% of London is destroyed. 1792, the September massacres of the French Revolution in Paris. Rampaging mobs slaughter 3 Roman Catholic bishops, more than 200 priests and prisoners believed to be royal sympathizers. 1864, U.S. Civil War. General William T. Sherman captures and occupies Atlanta, ending the Atlanta campaign in the U.S. Civil War. I am somehow related to him. He's like a great something or another. 1931, American crooner Bing Crosby makes his solo radio debut with his hit 15 Minutes with Bill Cosby. I'm sorry, it wasn't this song. It was a program broadcast on the CBS network. 1949, The Third Man, directed by Carol Reed, starring Joseph Cotton, Aldi Valley, and Orson Welles, is released in the UK, and it got Academy Awards for Best Cinematography. 1972, Rod Stewart's first #1 hit in the UK, You Wear It Well. Today in sports, Chicago slugger Ernie Banks hits his MLB 400th career home run off Kurt Simmons with a 5-3 win over St. Louis at Wrigley Fields. Simmons also gave up Willie Mays' 400th home run in 1963. There you go. Chris, did you know that? I didn't know that. I can barely remember what yesterday was, much less history. That's why I read about it. Let's see. We talked about that. We may just skip through this one. 1838, Queen Liliuokalani is born. All right. Well, the queen is born in Honolulu, Hawaii. The last royal sovereign of the Hawaii. Liliuokalani fiercely resisted attempts by America to annex the islands. She was forced to abdicate in 1893, and Hawaii was annexed by the U.S. in 1898. Why does we have to have a day with all these hard words? The 1944, the Chichajima incident takes place. A group of 9 American pilots, including a young George H.W. Bush, attempt to take out a radio tower on the Japanese-held island of Chichajima during World War II. Instead, the pilots were shot down. 8 of them were captured, tortured, and executed, 4 of which were subsequently cannibalized by Japanese officers. Only Bush escaped, escaped the so-called Chichijama incident with his life. Chris says, I remember everytheverything about Mr. Cub. 1968, divers discover Beamy Road. Divers Joseph Mansion, Valentine. Why do they give us his 3 names? He's just Joseph Valentine. Robert Angrove and Jacques Mayall find an odd pattern of limestone rocks in the waters off of the Bahamas, dubbed Bimini Road. The pattern becomes the focus of numerous studies from people convinced it could be the road to Atlantis. Didn't we just have an article recently where they found another one of those? 1969, Ho Chi Minh dies. Ho Chi Minh dies at the age of 79 in Hanoi, the head of the Vietnamese national movement. Ho Chi Minh fought the Japanese, the French, and the Americans in the name of the Vietnamese independence. He later served as the first president of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, and Saigon, the former capital of South Vietnam, was renamed to Ho Chi Minh City in his honor. All right. We move on to what is today, because, well, every day has a day. We'll pop this little screen up, make sure nothing's live down there, and we'll see what's going on today. Well, today is a Telephone Tuesday. It is another Look Unlimited Day. Don't know what the hell that means. Bicentennial Day. Bicentennial Day. Hold on. I gotta know what the hell this is. It's a wacky holiday that celebrates a number of things. The 200th birthday of an imaginary figure, the person who invented verbal signaling to yell at soldiers during the war. The secret signals between football players, and the fact if you say bicentennial repeatedly, it sounds like bicentennial. Okay. I don't know what the hell. So, all right. So it's Bicentennial Day. Happy Bicentennial Day. I hope it makes you happy. Geez, it's making me happy to push the right buttons. Calendar Adjustment Day, CETA Day, Independence Day of Vietnam, National Blueberry Popsicle Day, National Live Fearless Day, Pierce Your Ears Day. No, thank you. The Spalding Baseball Day, VJ Day, World Coconut Day. All right. We will carry on and see what else we can stumble into. And we see all these things. And let's see. I may have closed it. If so, we'll go on without it. I guess I did close it. No, what? How did I do that? Usually I go in and we get highlights about stuff, but I guess I won't. Okay. All right. We'll continue to move on. See, I told you it's Monday. Andrew McNeil Almanac. Chris says that person must have been high AF to think Bison Day was a good idea. Agreed. Today is the 245th day of 2025 and the 75th day of summer. Today in 1666, we talked about the Great Fire in a bake shop ending 3 days later after destroying more than 13,000 buildings. In 1789, Congress created the U.S. Department of Treasury. 1901, Vice President Theodore Roosevelt made his Speak Softly and Carry a Big Stick speech on American foreign policy. In 1963, Alabama Governor George Wallace stationed state troopers around Tuskegee High School to prevent integration. Today's birthdays: Romare Bearden, author and artist; Billy Preston, a musician; Nathan Tiny Archibald, a basketball player; Terry Bradshaw, a football player and sportscaster, and he's also a reality star. Krista Krista McAuliffe. No, that ain't right. Krista McAuliffe, the teacher and astronaut who died in the space shuttle. Mark Herman, we know who he is, an actor. Jimmy Connors, a tennis player. Eric Dickerson, a former football player. Keanu Reeves, an actor. Lennox Lewis, he's a boxer. And Salma Hayek, who is an actress. Today's fact: the first ATM in the United States was put into service at the Chemical Bank in Rockville Center, New York, on this day in 1969. Today in sports: 1960, William Rudolph ran the 100-meter dash in 11 seconds to claim gold at the Summer Olympics in Rome. She was awarded the world record for her sprint, only to have it revoked because wind speeds were higher than allowed. What? Today's quote: people often say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I say the most liberating thing about beauty is realizing that you are the beholder. This empowers us to find beauty in places where others have not dared to look, including inside ourselves. It's a quote from Salma Hayek. Today's number: 45. Books authored by Theodore Roosevelt, including his autobiography, a biography of Oliver Cromwell, and his best-selling personal memoir of the Spanish-American War, The Rough Riders. Today's moon: well, it's between a quarter and a full. So it's between the first quarter and a full moon. There you go. Oh, man, my chair squeaks. Man, I feel like everything's old today. What the heck? All right, so this is one of the reasons I believe that there is a 2 o'clock speech. A bizarre reason that people think pizza has confirmed President Trump's medical status. What exactly is going on with President Trump, and where is he right now? It seems that the commander-in-chief isn't sitting behind the resolute desk. He isn't busy taking in a few rounds of golf, and he isn't sunning himself at Mar-a-Lago. The internet has gone into a frenzy amid rumors that the president of the United States has passed away. Yes, whispers started over the final few hours. Whispers started over the final few days of August about the president's potential death, with only a privy few actually knowing what's happening with Donald Trump. It all started when Vice President J.D. Vance took an interview with USA Today and said he's ready to step up and assume the presidency if a, quote, terrible tragedy were to befall President Trump. The same interview featured Vance saying Trump is in, quote, incredibly good health, although naysayers have noted he hasn't been seen publicly since a Wednesday cabinet meeting and had an unusually clear weekend schedule. We did talk about that, if you recall, looking at the schedule. And I took Monday off. It was a holiday. I needed a day. The POTUS is trying to assure us that he is doing just fine, posting on Truth Search Social saying, never felt better in my life. He linked to another post where someone was talking about former President Joe Biden's health, adding how the media freaks out if Trump disappears for 24 hours. Hoping to finally put everything to bed, the White House Daily Guidance Notice confirms that President Trump will be making an announcement at 2 p.m. today. As no further details were provided, it only throws fuel on the fire that all is not well. The biggest hint that something was or is going on comes courtesy of the Pentagon Pizza Index. We've previously covered how the pizza orders seemingly spike around the Pentagon during times of crisis, potentially foreshadowing Israel's June missile strikes on Iran ahead of time. Over the weekend, pizza orders around the Pentagon soared by a whopping 800%. Although it now sits at the lowest state of DEFCON 1, it had climbed to the highest of DEFCON 5 during the past few days. There's an actual graph for this. On one account, X claimed that several helicopters flew to the Walter Reed Army Medical Center and that the area was closed off to traffic. If the facility being significant matters of presidential health wasn't enough, someone else claims that they saw First Lady Melania Trump at Walter Reed. A pregnant woman posted on her Threads account stating, "Went to Walter Reed on Thursday to be monitored in labor and delivery because I'm, quote, very pregnant." Mid being monitored in triage, guess who showed up for an unscheduled tour of labor and delivery? Melania Trump. Hospital staff were said to be surprised by her presence, although it's important to note that there's no official confirmation that the First Lady was ever there. All of this comes after the White House confirmed the president suffers from chronic venous. I should know this. I'm a paramedic. Chronic venous insufficiency in July of 2025, even though it is thought not to be life-threatening. Increased pressure in the veins can lead to leg swelling and ulcers. Before the White House confirmed it, some had spotted that Trump seemingly had swollen legs on social media. Look at the Pentagon Pizza Index confirms continued spikes of orders at various intervals, but with President Trump due to set the record straight, we should soon find out exactly what is going on in the Oval Office. There you go. And we'll talk about it a little bit more. Pizza Index shows DEFCON 1 hitting as officials working late at night in the area. Let's say, I'm sorry. Chris says Biden had a pretty clear schedule 2022 to 2024. You might see him out eating ice cream over the weekend. God love him. He can enjoy his retirement and eat his ice cream, but he looked so confused, but then he looked happy with the ice cream. I mean, ice cream cones do make you happy, but yeah. The Pentagon Pizza Index shows DEFCON 1 hinting at officials working late in the building. Pizza orders had apparently spiked around the Pentagon, according to the Pentagon Pizza Index. Yes, this is a thing. Tweet suggested that the Pentagon Pizza Index showed a spike in the area that had been going viral on X, according to reports on the platform. This suggests that officials were working late in the night in government buildings. According to an X post by Buzzing Pop, the tracker also displayed DEFCON 1 for the unversed. According to the Merriam-Webster, DEFCON indicates the highest level of a perceived threat. That was DEFCON 1 is that. It garnered more than 800,000 views since it was uploaded August 30th. While some seemed confused in the comment section, others were more skeptical about the authenticity of the images and information shared despite the speculations. No information or update has been given by the White House or any government agencies as of now. Meanwhile, the reports about the aforementioned spike surfaced around the time that X is flooded with rumors related to President Trump's demise. As far as these speculations are concerned, no authentic sources have confirmed that. It is also to clarify that it is unclear if there is any connection between the two reports, meaning the Pizzagate, whatever, the more sales, well, you know, who the hell keeps track of this? The Pentagon Pizza Report had indicated spikes in pizza orders in the past few days. As reported by the Hindustan Times, Pentagon Pizza Report, an X account that usually tracks online pizza orders around prominent government agencies like the Pentagon and CIA, they reported a spike in orders on Friday. As per the X account, pizzas were ordered from joints like Freddy's Beach Bar, Domino's, District Pizza Palace, as well as Crystal City Sports Pub. Hey, that's a good one. No solid reason, however, has been specified behind the alleged spike. As of now, the X account reportedly shared updates about similar spikes in August of 2020, August 27th and 28th. On Friday, around 7:36 p.m., a tweet was posted by the account, and it shows the tweet saying Freddy's Bar is reporting above average traffic. Pizzerias near the Pentagon are currently mixed, ranging from below to above average. Prior to this, the entire Friday afternoon, the accounts shared updates about the traffic near the Pentagon and claimed that it was consistently high. They shared another update that allegedly suggested that the traffic was below average around 3:17 a.m. The Pentagon Pizza Index is a viral theory suggesting that all of a sudden a surge in late-night pizza orders around the U.S. intelligence headquarters indicate military action are a case of national security crisis. According to the Hindustan Times, this theory reportedly came into existence during the Cold War. At the time, Soviet spies apparently tracked the pizza orders that suggest the U.S. government was about to take some action. The Guardian had reported in August of 1990, a Domino's Pizza franchise in Washington witnessed a sudden spike just a few hours before Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. Despite all of the information surrounding the theory, no solid evidence has been found to prove it. So there you go. Chris says Melania Trump told her many people had been talking about how pregnant she was. Nobody had ever seen a bigger or more beautiful belly. Riley Gaines is pregnant. Did you know that? So let's see. So there you go. There's the pizza story. We'll see if it's a thing. So I hope it's not a thing, but we'll see if it's a thing. We're still not live, so I'm just going to pop over there. All right, so we're going to talk about this ad nauseum until we hear something, because apparently this is one of the only news stories of the day. I disagree, but Donald Trump's 2 p.m. announcement, what will the president reveal about defense? Speculation mounts, and Washington as allies, critics, and markets await clarity on Trump's next move. U.S. President Donald Trump is scheduled to make a highly anticipated announcement at 2 p.m. from the Oval Office. The White House has described the event as an exciting announcement relating to the Department of Defense, sparking widespread speculation across media and social networks. Given Trump's recent public silence and swirling rumors about his health and political future, the news captured global attention as people waited to find out what might be revealed. The official word, a defense-focused announcement. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt confirmed the announcement's focus on the Department of Defense, making Trump's first public appearance in almost a week. Details remained sparse, stirring speculation of everything from a major policy shift to a symbolic rebranding of the Pentagon. Trump has recently proposed renaming the Department of Defense as the Department of War, a controversial idea that expresses his views that defense is too passive for a nation and that also needs offensive strength. SecDef Hegseth echoed this position during a lengthy cabinet meeting, describing the change as embracing a warrior's ethos, highlighting strength without advocating war. It remains to be seen if the announcement will formalize the renaming or introduce other new defense initiatives, but it clearly signals a possible shift now in the administration and how it intends to frame America's military posture. Trump's recent absence from public view, notably following a nearly 200-minute cabinet meeting on 26 August, fueled intense speculation about his health. Images showing bruises on his hands and his subdued demeanor sparked rumors about his well-being. on social media. Hashtags with the quote, where is Trump, and hashtag Trump is dead trended, with some suggesting he might resign due to health. VP Vance remarks about being ready to assume the presidency if a quote, terrible tragedy occurred, added to the unease. However, White House officials denied the rumors, and the announcement would involve health or resignation updates. Trump took to social media to quash health concerns, stating he has never felt better. So theories on what it could be: Defense and Space Command. Well, the Defense Visual Information Distribution Service labeled the event as a U.S. Space Command and Headquarters announcement, leading to speculation about the Space Force expansion or headquarters relocation. Immigration and the National Guard. Some suggest the announcement could involve National Guard deployments to cities like Chicago to address rising crime, consistent with Trump's previous threats to deploy federal forces to Democrat-led cities. Trade and tariff. Others, well, they expected updates on trade policy, including potential new tariffs on Indian goods or development in the U.S.-UK trade relations. And there's something going on, but we don't know what. This announcement comes as Trump faces both domestic and international challenges, with peace talks between Russia and Ukraine stalling. Trump has portrayed himself as a peace president behind ceasefire efforts. At home, rising urban crime has intensified demands for federal interventions and increased military support, areas appealing to the Trump political base. The announcement timing, coinciding with Congress's return from recess today, suggests strategic communication during important legislative sessions. Expert perspectives caution over speculation. Experts warn against reading too much into the announcement, while renaming the DOT garners headlines. Such a move requires congressional approval, so the announcement might rather introduce proposals or symbolic gestures. Potential topics could include new defense budgets, troop movements, or personnel changes. The core messaging will likely stress strength, deterrence, and America's readiness amid evolving global crises. At 2 p.m., the attention will center on the Oval Office in just 20 minutes, whether Trump unveils concrete policy changes or a message aimed at rallying supporters. The event could mark a turning point in U.S. defense policy discussions and political dynamics ahead of the 2026 midterms. Millions will watch both TV and social media. You can tune it on here because it will probably be in the background. We probably will run with it. And Trump's unique style that mixes a spectacle with political strategy. So we will be waiting and seeing what happens if they go live at 2 o'clock. We're still staying tuned because they're going to be here live. So let's see here. Who do we got? Harley's in the chat. Welcome, Harley. And Chris says he will just say it's the Department of War now instead of Defense. To me, it just... what difference does it make? I think my grandparents worked for the Department of War, but they changed it after she retired. So we're glad. And hello to you there, sweet lady. How are you today? Hopefully you're having a great day. And Chris says, maybe it's about the UFO that changes speed on its own. Yeah, funny story. I was following something about UFOs, and over the weekend in upstate New York, there was video of UFOs that had audio, and the lights changed from like helicopter style searchlights, and you could hear helicopter noise, to where it went to plane like status and had blinking lights on either side in front and back, and you could hear a plane. It actually made a noise change and transformed whatever the hell it was. Maybe it was AI, but that's why I didn't run with it, because I wasn't 100% on it. But I was like, what? This is weird. But yeah, it switched between a helicopter and a plane, including making the noises on video. I don't think it was AI, but if you see anything, let me know. I would love to know. So, going on even more, we're talking about the announcement at the White House. What to know? Well, we need to know. It's funny. I think I know who took that picture. President Donald Trump is scheduled to make an unspecified announcement Tuesday following days of rumors about his health. He will make an announcement from the Oval Office at 2, according to daily guidance and press scheduling by the White House. Carolyn Levitt told Newsweek the president will be making an exciting announcement related to the Department of Defense. False rumors that Trump had died began circulating on social media on Friday after some noted he had not been seen in public for several days after attending a cabinet meeting on August 26. He also had no public events over the Labor Day weekend. Can the guy not take a day off? So thousands of posts were shared on X featuring hashtags "Where is Trump?" and "Trump died," speculating the truth about speculating about Trump's possible demise had acquired 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning, according to Grok. Some 158,000 X posts included the phrase "Trump is dead," and 42,000 stating Trump died had been made as of 7:48 Eastern on Saturday, according to the platform's analytics. Some continued posting about the rumor, though engagement dropped after Trump was pictured heading to golf at his Virginia golf course on Saturday. And these came out from somebody I know and follow, and then they digitally enhanced it and cleaned it up, and they said that this isn't the president. So I don't know. I think it's the president, and he's allowed to have a day off. What the hell did I just do? I don't even know. So let's see. According to schedule, press release at 10. The press pool will be in attendance during the president's announcement. Well, I'm sure my buddy will be there. It includes television's crews from Fox and Gray TV, meaning the announcement will likely be streamed live. But the lack of detail the schedule prior to Levitt's statements has prompted speculation on social media, despite Trump addressing rumors about his health on Sunday night. Some have continued to question the nature of the announcement, with some suggesting it could be related to a possible, quote, resignation. Questions about the president's health were spurred by new photos showing bruisings on his hand in July. The White House said Trump had been diagnosed with a chronic vein disease, which his physician described as benign and common. And then we know J.D. Vance's interview with the USA Today. Keith Olbermann wrote on X, breaking, "Oh, nothing, just a president who talks compulsively but has not spoken in a week, scheduling an announcement at 2 p.m. tomorrow per Trump officials." People are speculating, is he resigning? So we will know soon. We will know in about 15 minutes. Whatever it is, we should find out. It's got him a buzz even overseas. This comes to us from the Daily Mail out of the UK. Trump to make big Oval Office surprise announcement after days of health worries, speculation. So it marks his first public remarks in exactly a week after he held a 3-hour and 17-minute open press cabinet meeting. The wild conspiracies have claimed all kinds of things, even though he was seen golfing with his granddaughter over the weekend. All the contents of the exciting announcement are undisclosed. White House press secretary told the Daily Mail that it will in some way relate to Department of Defense. And so we're wanting to know if it's more about the crackdown, which now they're talking about going into Chicago. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, but yeah, he was seen going golfing. They hopped in the limo and went over to his Virginia golf club. So, and his granddaughter. So, Can't a guy take a couple days off? I mean, sheesh, he's got one of the hardest jobs in the world, right? So, at any rate, we'll see, But yeah, I know the guy that shot the picture and made the video. So, and I know the guy that took the original hand photo. So. Oh, Chris says the USA hat is really unnecessary. We know you're the president. Quit trying so hard. I just hate that he wears them undercover. He's the commander in chief. Stop. If he resigns, what will Democrats bitch about? Why they can't have the number 2 spot, I guess. Who knows? They'll find something. They will find something. Politico's reporting that Trump will move the Space Command from Colorado to Alabama. President Donald Trump will announce plans on Tuesday that the U.S. Space Command will move from Colorado to Alabama, according to 3 people familiar with the decision. I gotta stop hitting that button. This cross-country move reverses former President Joe Biden's decision not to relocate the command, which oversees military space operations and the defense of satellites. It also reinstates a plan Trump made in the final days of his first term. The decision ends a bitter year-long turf war between Alabama and Colorado leaders over the best home for the unit. Each side argued the other benefited from politically motivated decisions by either Trump or Biden to reward states that voted for them. Trump's Oval Office announced on Tuesday afternoon was preempted by the Pentagon, whose website posted a link to the anticipated live stream with the caption, U.S. Space Command Headquarters announcement. The website was later edited to remove the mention of Space Command. So there you go. Command will head to Huntsville's Redstone Arsenal in the coming years, departing its location at Peterson Space Force in Colorado Springs. Biden canceled the move in 2023, opting to keep the command in Colorado. Trump has said previously that he personally chose Alabama over Colorado and other personal sites. Alabama lawmakers had long projected confidence that Trump would return to his original decision to move the command to Huntsville. Colorado's delegation has argued that moving Space Command would hurt national security. The unit became fully operational in 2023 at the Colorado Springs site, and state leaders contend moving it across the country would hurt the military's ability, good Lord, to defend U.S. space assets. They also argue Space Command will lose many of its civilian workers and contractors who won't agree to move across country. I gotta say, I wouldn't move across country. Colorado Republicans, including close to Trump ally Representative Lauren Boebert, said in recent months that the state was still in the mix due to a national security imperative of the space mission. But Alabama leaders pointed to Huntsville's higher rank in most of Air Force basing criteria as proof they won the competition. Moving to Alabama will also likely prove cheaper than staying in Colorado due to lower costs. Representative Mike Rogers of Alabama, who chairs the House Armed Service Committee, predicted in April that the Trump administration would select Alabama contractors. Contractors are ready to turn dirt on the day the announcement is made, he said. Alabama has also pointed to the backlog from Biden's Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall for moving Space Command to Huntsville. A Pentagon watchdog report released in April noted Kendall supported putting the command at Redstone Arsenal, which the Air Force projected would cost $426 million less due to construction and personnel costs. But Space Command leadership, then headed by General James Dickinson, warned against moving due to the risks to readiness. So there you go. I thought about that, Chris, as soon as I started reading it. Chris says Bobby Dizzle was a big factor in the move being made. Could be. I mean, that was actually one of the first I thought of when they said that. So let's jump down here and make sure we're not missing something. We don't want to stay tuned. We're staying tuned. So, all right. Trump trolls leftists questioning whereabouts, spreading rumors of his death. Trump says he never felt better. President Donald Trump trolled leftists who questioned where he was and spread baseless rumors on social media of his death over the weekend, informing them that he has never, quote, felt better. And he posted on Truth Social that never felt better in my life. And also DC is a crime-free zone. So, and Governor Pritzker replied to his post, why don't you send everyone proof of life first? Either way, Chicago doesn't want you here. Nice. That's not very governorship like, if that's the correct term, but gotta be nice. One person wrote, if Trump is dead, I will give $50 to anyone who likes this tweet. Well, she's probably getting a bunch of likes. And another one wrote, Donald Trump has not been seen publicly in 3 days. The White House press pool didn't see him once today. He has no political events scheduled for Saturday or Sunday, and even Monday. Where is Donald? Has Trump been seen on camera today? Many are asking. And people are offering money to like their posts. What? They got to be lying, but I wonder if they're getting the views. So, all right. So that comes to us from Breitbart. We are just going to kind of hang in there, see what happens, and go from there. New York City woman. This comes to us from the New York Post. A New York City woman busted for threatening to kill President Trump is quietly released by an Obama-appointed judge. A New York City woman locked up for making deranged social media posts threatening to kill President Trump was quietly released by a Democrat-appointed judge last week. Chief U.S. Judge James Boasberg, appointed by President Barack Obama, released Natalie Rose Jones, a 50-year-old Big Apple resident, under electronic monitoring on August 27th and has ordered that she seek a psychiatrist once back home, according to court documents. The surprise release comes just days after U.S. Marshals, days after U.S. Magistrate Judge Maxilla Uhanda, whatever, I can't pronounce that, denied her bond over the persistent threats on Trump's life she has issued over social media earlier this month. Here's where we are, Jones wrote in a long Facebook post August 2nd. I literally told the FBI in 5 states today that I'm willing to sacrificially kill the POTUS by disemboweling him and cutting out his trachea with Liz Cheney and all the affirmation present, she allegedly wrote, ending the paragraph, let's deal with this and restore domestic tranquility. I think killing one guy is going to do that? Goodness gracious. So, yeah, so there's the guy who let her out. So she's out. She's free again. So she's got an ankle monitor that she probably leaves at home when she goes out drinking. That's crazy. Crazy. And Chris says Pritzker was thoughtful to stop eating long enough to reply to Trump. Well, speaking of threats to the president, we have this from Law and Crime. I'm going to cut your effing head off. Trump staffer threatened with decapitation, told his death will improve the lives of every American, according to the Department of Justice. A Texas man is accused of threatening a staffer for President Donald Trump in a series of chilling, curse-laden voicemails, allegedly saying, I'm going to cut your effing head off. And head off, I guess that's B, and then I'm going to kill your effing family, according to federal prosecutors. Sounds like a really nice person. Thomas Kraus of Austin is charged with transmitting an international communication containing a threat to injure the person of another. That's a long way of saying it. After allegedly leaving multiple messages on the president's worker's phone August 25th and 26th, according to the DOJ. U.S. Attorney Office for the Western District of Texas announced his arrest in a press release and detailed in a federal complaint, which features comments from at least 5 voicemails that were left. What Krause allegedly said to the staffer? Well, the victim, who has not yet been publicly named, is identified as VI. Hey, this is effing VI's name, whatever, man. The piece of effing shit that references VI's role of the president of the United States. This is complicated. If this is you, I'm going to find you and I'm going to cut your effing head off, you little B. What? I'm going to kill you, then I'm going to kill your family. Cross continues using the 67 failure feature to conceal. Oh, so he used star 67 feature to conceal his number, according to prosecutors. You can hit star 67, and if you dial a number, it shows up as private or something. I've never done it. So there you go. So supposedly he made these threats, and he's now in custody. So there you go. He wants to be a hero, but instead he's a sick little man that needs some type of mental health. We'll check there. Okay, we're still good. So we're a little early, but all right. So President Trump's policy sparked protest in multiple cities on Labor Day. I saw him here in Knoxville. Prosecutors took to the streets in multiple U.S. cities on Labor Day to criticize President Donald Trump and demand a living wage for workers. Demonstrations in Chicago and New York were organized by the One Fair Wage to draw attention to the struggles laborers face in the U.S., while the federal minimum wage is at $7.25 an hour. I can go back and remember when it was $3.35 an hour, and we were glad to have that. Chants of Trump must go echoed outside the president's former home in New York, while protesters gathered outside at a different Trump Tower in Chicago, yelling that no National Guard and lock him up. Large crowds also gathered in Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. In New York, police gathered outside Trump Tower, what has become a magnet for protests and remains a prominent symbol of the president's wealth, even though the president hasn't lived in the Manhattan skyscraper for years. Must be nice just to have one. I'm going to go to New York today and spend the weekend up there. I'm going to go to Florida and spend the weekend. It must be nice. Demonstrators waved signs and banners calling for an end to what they say is a fascist regime. In Washington, a large crowd gathered with signs saying, "Stop the ICE invasion," and an umbrella painted with the Free DC, no mask thugs. Hundreds more gathered in protest along the West Coast to fight for the rights of immigrants and workers. Multiple groups joined together at the protest in Chicago to listen to speeches led by their leaders. We're here because we're under attack. We're here because our core values and our democracy is under attack. We are here because they are threatening to send the military into our streets. Daniel Biss, the mayor of Evanston, Indiana, told the crowd in Chicago as he urged them to stand up for workers. At one point, a woman got out of a vehicle with Iowa plates in Chicago to shout, "Long live Donald Trump," over and over again, resulting in a brief confrontation as the protesters responded with shouts of their own until the woman was left a few minutes later. In the crowd, Ziri Marquez said she came out because she has concerned about overlapping issues with the U.S. around the world, decrying an anti-migrant attitude with the U.S. and the deaths of the Palestinians in Gaza. I think more specifically, what we're dealing with: low wages. We're dealing with the stagnant economy. Immigrants are largely used as a scapegoat, she says. Along the West Coast, from San Diego to Seattle, hundreds gathered at rallies to call for a stop to the, quote, billionaire takeover. They're all billionaires. We'll talk about that later. Groups supporting federal workers and unions marched in LA, San Francisco, in Portland in support of workers' rights. Rally organizers Mayday Strong said the website that billionaires are stealing from working families, destroying our democracy, and building private armies to attack our towns and cities. They called on people to take collective action to stop the takeover. Portland protester Linda Oakley of Beaverton told the Oregon Live that her frustrations with healthcare, immigration, and Social Security inspired her to join the march. I'm done with what's happening in our country, she said. King County, the council member Teresa Mosqueda, who took part in the demonstration at Seattle's Cascade Playground, told KOMO TV News they also wanted to send a message about above billionaires. Workers should be more powerful than the small billionaire class, she said. Well, there you go. Well, that's her opinion. So now we have it. And let's see. We will go down here and check. We are now officially 1 minute and 34 seconds late. We know President Trump always likes to be on time, but so far this appears to be a delay. I think I need another Mountain Dew. I think that'll help me. So it's a 3 Mountain Dew day so far. All right. So nothing yet. We will continue to monitor. Maybe I should move this over to another side window. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Where are we going? We're going down here to and accused of threatening Trump among the 1,500 arrested during federal takeover. Washington, there have now been 1,528 arrests under President Donald Trump's federal operation to tackle crime in Washington, D.C. On Labor Day, residents Harriet Wildest Dreams and community leaders gathered outside D.C. Superior Court to address what they call an ongoing state of emergency as in the city as President Donald Trump federal takeover continues. I'm trying to on Labor Day, residents Harriet Wildest Dreams. That's her name, I guess. Okay. All right. Yeah. Weird. Attorney General Pam Bondi released the updated numbers on Sunday, adding that 76 of the arrests happened on Saturday during their operation. 2 of those were for threats against law enforcement. Isn't it a good idea to get these bad people off our street? Am I wrong about that? There was another arrest involving a person who made threats to kill President Trump and allegedly assaulted a federal officer, according to Bondi. An illegal immigrant accused of being an MS-13 gang member was also arrested during the Saturday operation. In addition, there have been 151 illegal guns seized during Trump's federal takeover, according to Bondi. Isn't that a good thing? We want to get the bad guys and the guns and all that off the street. Isn't that what people want? I mean, it seems to me that's what you would want. But what do I know? I'm just a lowly podcaster, a guy with a big mouth sitting here waiting to hear some spectacular news from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. All right, we're top of the hour. We'll continue on. We'll just keep checking in here because it doesn't make any sense why he's late. All right, so over the weekend, I know many people followed this. Chicago shootings, at least 54 shot, 7 fatally in Labor Day weekend gun violence, according to police. I just want to detour for a moment. We went totally berserk last week when I think it was 17 children were shot in a private school mass shooting with 2 fatally injured and 1 still in critical condition. But this is one weekend in Chicago. There's 54 people shot, and we're not in arms and up about it as much as we were about that. I don't understand. Help me understand this. At least 54 people have been shot, 7 fatally in shootings across Chicago so far this Labor Day weekend, according to police. The weekend gun violence comes as the Trump administration prepares to potentially deploy the National Guard to Chicago. Tuesday morning, President Trump posted on social media, "I will solve the crime problems fast, just like I did in D.C. Chicago will be safe again and soon." The Bronzeville neighborhood saw 2 mass shootings within 48 hours. 5 people, including a 17-year-old who suffered critical injuries, were shot near 36th and Cottage by Ellis Park Monday morning. At the end of the day, you have 1 person that was critically injured and 4 folks in the hospital. Whatever the situation was, it was senseless, said 4th Ward Alderman Lamont Robinson. The other mass shooting happened on Saturday night near 35th and State, where 7 people were hurt in a drive-by attack. Alderman Howe told ABC News, "I have long asked for additional police manpower to deal with illegal gatherings and pop-up parties that routinely occur throughout the Bronzeville city neighborhood. The violence comes after Mayor Brandon Johnson signed an executive order to fight the Trump administration immigration enforcement plans and potential deployment of the National Guard to the city. Us as people, we come together and fix it on our own. We don't need no one to come here and, check our community," said Alex Hawthorne, owner of the top-tier university football program. He said, "Us people, we can come together and fix it on our own. We don't need no one to come here and, check our community." Okay, it's not politically correct, or not. It doesn't really sound good, but whatever. Hawthorne says her program in Bronzeville is working to provide a safe place for children. "We're going to push things through because it's a disservice to children. Others think the troops could help. I got kids and I want to see the community better. I run every day out here. I exercise out here so for the streets to be safer, I think it's really good," said another resident. But Hawthorne says her football program does just that. "It's definitely a safe haven. We're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure these kids have somewhere to come to. Parents with kids who are interested in joining the top-tier university youth football program can be reached at toptier.core.gmail." All right, so in the holiday weekend roundup, they had a woman shot and killed in a South Shore apartment Friday night. And then they found 2 with gunshot wounds inside that one apartment. A 25-year-old was shot twice in the abdomen and once in the leg. She was taken to the University of Chicago, where she died. Shooting investigation is underway in East Garfield Park on Saturday. Police said the shooting happened at about 11 a.m. in the 500 block of North Sawyer. Police said 2 men, aged 29 and 32, were standing outside when a dark SUV pulled up. A suspect got out and started shooting in their direction. The 29-year-old was shot multiple times. He was taken to Mount Sinai, where he later died. So you just read all these stories about people passing away, but there's no crime here. Nothing to see here. We're all good. Nothing to see. There's no crime. It's okay. Do we believe that? And Chris says, talking about children being shot motivates firearm collection. Talking about gang activity being responsible for the death of innocents scares people into considering gun purchases. That's not allowed. Well, I think haven't gun sales spiked for the past 8 years or something? It's been some massive influx of gun sales. But you still, depending on your local state law, you still have to get a concealed carry if you want to carry it to court. We're talking legally, of course. And some states you can even do open carry, and other states you can't carry at all. So it just depending on where you particularly are at that moment. So it's kind of weird how it works, but it seems to me that should be one thing that's universal, is if you've got a gun, you've been through a training course or whatever, and you're allowed to carry in Alabama, you should be allowed to carry in Maine or Florida or California or wherever. That seems to me it should be universal, because a person could get in a lot of trouble if they went and didn't know the laws. I mean, of course, that's part of being a responsible gun owner, but if you're scared, you're scared. So in California, a judge has ruled against Trump's use of National Guard. Trump violated an 1878 law that bans the use of military personnel for domestic law enforcement through ruling states. Federal judge ruled Tuesday that President Donald Trump's deployment of the National Guard to LA violated federal restrictions on using the military for domestic law enforcement. Judge Charles Breyer of the U.S. District Court for the Northern California found that Trump's use of the California National Guard in response to, at times, violent protests in June of LA violated the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 that bans use of military personnel for domestic law enforcement. Trump's action would create a national police force with the president as its chief, Breyer wrote. Okay, remember that comment, president as its chief. Breyer's blocked the deployment of the National Guard members in California from being used as law enforcement, but the judge also paused his ruling for taking effect until later this month to allow appeal. Congress spoke clearly in 1878 when it passed the Posse Comitatus Act, I am pronouncing that wrong, prohibiting the use of military to execute domestic law enforcement. Actions taken by the National Guards, such as shows a force alongside immigration raids, helping to establish traffic cordons for search warrants, and other actions violated the bar for use of military personnel for domestic law enforcement, the judge wrote. While the National Guard deployment has shrunk to 300 members, Breyer wrote that he had serious concerns about Trump's intention to continue deploying national troops elsewhere in violation of federal law. Breyer, the brother of Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, issued the ruling after a trial last month over whether Trump's deployment violated that 1878 law. California Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, filed a court case shortly after the Trump deployment to the state's National Guard in LA over the governor's objections, arguing that the deployment was not needed and violated federal law. Byers initially sided with Newsom, finding the federalization of the state guard contingent likely violated the law and Constitution. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit put that ruling on hold in response to the Trump administration appeal. Trump had deployed the National Guard in the District of Columbia over the summer and threatened to use them in Chicago and other big cities. Trump has claimed the ability to, quote, anything I want. Now, see, I think that's taken out of context. I think that's a part of a sentence. They like to do that. We're going to use a part of a sentence. We're not going to use the whole sentence, or we're not going to use the whole paragraph. We're just going to use this part because this is the part I like. I don't think that that's fair media reporting, to be honest with you. I think that they need to, if you're going to say a clip, say the whole thing. Don't just show it. And I think CBS just got in trouble for this again. I didn't dig too deep into the report, but supposedly CBS had one of the secretaries on there. I think it was Homeland, and they deleted part of the interview to make it sound totally different than what it was. All right, so if the Trump troops weren't needed because there was nothing going on, well, why did Newsom just deploy the state police officers to major cities? Gavin Newsom announced Thursday he's sending new teams of state police to major California cities, contrasting the effort with Donald Trump's unilateral deployment of National Guard troops in LA and Washington. The California Highway Patrol troopers will target crimes like auto theft and drug dealing in LA, San Diego, inland regions, and the San Francisco Bay Area. Trump recently threatened to send Guard members to San Francisco, saying he would, quote, clean up the city. Newsom insisted he was not reacting and responding to anything relating to Trump and emphasized the state's deployment, unlike the president's, was not being done over the objections of local government. As it relates to the president in particular, he's doing things to people, not with people, and it's a point of profound consequential contrast. He's de facto militarizing American cities, Newsom told reporters. The announcement is Newsom's latest attempt to take the lead in offering competing Democrat vision of governance to Republican Washington ahead of the likely 2028 presidential run. The governor has laced into the Trump administration for its law enforcement tactics on Wednesday, telling Politico that Immigrations and Customs Enforcement agents work as president's private police force. White House border czar Tom Homan said the governor was an embarrassment in response. If I had an ounce of integrity, he'd be calling President Donald Trump and thanking him for making LA safer, Holman said. Newsom's move comes ahead of the ruling that we just read about that they filed against the Supreme Court over its deployment to troops to LA. The governor said the state's attorneys have deposed members of Trump's administration, border patrol, and military, and that he was preparing for a decision from the Northern District Courts of California. Any hour, any day, the ruling is slated to have sweeping implications for Trump. So there you go. We have the ruling. So, but we've yet to hear anything from the White House. We're now 17 minutes behind the projected schedule. So I don't know. And yeah, exactly. Newsom says it's different. Chris says Newsom says it's different when I do it. I want the political credit. Well, I was thinking about that as I was reading it. He can actually call up a state police force. Washington, D.C. as a city doesn't have that. They only have metropolitan police. So who do they call if they need help? You're in D.C. Why would you not use federal assets? I mean, it just kind of makes sense to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but he's calling up the highway patrol. Other governors have called up the highway patrol. DC can't do that. And if you remember, we talked about this when it happened. The only time DC went to the courts suing him, and we know they sued President Trump at the drop of a hat, was when the administration tried to take the police chief out and replace it with one of the administrative people. I think that was an overstretch. They sued. The judge agreed that that's an overstep. They backed down. They said, hey, we'll work in conjunction side by side, which is what it should be. But they don't have a Tennessee Highway Patrol, a California Highway Patrol, a Georgia Highway Patrol. They don't have a Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, a Georgia Bureau of Investigation, a Virginia Bureau of Investigation. They don't have those assets. They just have metropolitan police. So it seems to me that, and Chris is correct, the mayor has seemed to do a 180 on the opinion of the policy. And I said they were going to do this because they'll take credit for it come election time. They'll be like, hey, look, the city's cleaned up on my watch. So to be honest, I don't care what politician does it. If it saves lives, do it. I mean, common sense. All right, well, we'll continue on here. Let's see what happens. Who knows? Well, I don't know if you remember this, but over the weekend, 14,000 U.S.-bound migrants have returned south since the Trump border changes. There was a group that was 14,000 headed to the border, and they have reversed course, turned around, and went south. U.S. President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown began, according to the report published Friday by the governments of Colombia, Panama, and Costa Rica. The phenomenon known as reverse flow Migration is largely made up of Venezuelan migrants who fled the country at long-running economic, social, and political crisis only to encounter U.S. immigration policy no longer open to asylum seekers. Migrations through the treacherous Darien Gap on the border of Colombia and Panama peaked in 2023 when more than 500,000 migrants crossed. That flow slowed somewhat in 2024 and it's dried up almost completely earlier this year. But it doesn't mention the ones that flew into the city and then got into the caravan. You could fly into that city, but you couldn't fly into a U.S. city and come legally. I don't know. So that goes on to talk about how they've turned around and the policy is reversed. You can see that over on Newsmax if you like. I'm trying to keep it, but we're 20 minutes behind schedule now. So hopefully it's not something important. So LA fire this comes to us from PJ Media. LA fire victims warns New York City voters, don't make our mistake. Elect a communist dummy for a mayor. A Pacific Palisades fire victim is warning her old hometown of New York City not to make the same mistakes as Los Angeles and vote for an inexperienced and untested person for mayor. She makes her appeal in a viral video, but her message extends beyond what she says in the video. Indeed, there's quite a backstory at play here. Don't make our mistakes, Samantha Edis implores to the people of New York City. Mayors matter, she says. Los Angeles residents know only too well how impotent leadership can leave vulnerable to a mayor's stupidity and ineptitude. Thousands of burned down homes prove the point. In a viral Instagram post, Edis, who's an author and branding expert, speaks of moving her family 13 years ago from New York City to Pacific Palisades, a town she calls the most idyllic town in America, but now she says her adopted home looks like Pompeii. She takes viewers on a tour of her neighborhood in the aftermath of the January 7th fire. The only reason these houses burned down is mayoral incompetence, Edis says, as she directs the viewers Vanna White-like to the wreckage of the charred buildings where her daughter used to attend art class. Edis doesn't mention Mayor Karen Bass by name or her communist roots, but we know the truth. Edis continues her tour. This is where I used to get Starbucks every day, she says in another frame. She's in front of a flattened lot. This is where my elementary school, it's a burned out lot, are. I used to take my kids to get yogurt and where the supermarket used to be. Then there's photos of the charred mass. This was their car. She shows the rubble behind the car and calmly points out this was their home. Indeed, they lost every possession they owned in the fire. There was no water in the fire hydrant, she states. Why no water in the reservoir? Standing in front of a pile of rubble that once was a building, she concludes, this is the result of mayoral incompetence. And her message to New Yorkers, don't hire an inexperienced person who shows all the signs of being incompetent through their dumb ideas. She's nicer than that, however. Zohran Mohammedini has less than 3 months of work experience, and he wants to run the most important city in America, she says. We don't want this to happen to the city we love. Don't make our mistake, she entreats New York City voters. And you can check out her video over on Instagram, and you can see it for yourself under Samantha Edis. So, yeah, she's telling people don't make our mistake. I think it's good that cities or city leaders are being told by other cities, hey, this is what happens when you have a dumbass in charge. So, all right, well, we're 24 minutes behind. We'll push onward and see what happens. Let's see. U.S. aircraft intercept the fourth Russian surveillance mission near Alaska in the past week. Go away. You need to be away. And American aircraft intercepted a Russian surveillance flight Tuesday off the coast of Alaska for the fourth time in the past week, defense officials said on Wednesday. We're covering this because we were off for a couple days. An Elysian IL-20 surveillance aircraft flew into Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone, according to the North American Aerospace Defense Command. That's NORAD, the joint U.S.-Canadian air defense operations based at Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado. National borders extend 12 miles from land under international law. The ADIZ is an additional buffer of up to 150 miles into international airspace created by the U.S. and Canada, in which visual identification of all aircraft is required. NORAD responded by scrambling two F-16 Fighting Falcon fighters, one E-3 Sentry surveillance plane, and one KC-135 Stratotanker, refueling to make visual contact with the Russian IL-12, a type given to the NATO as nickname Coot. The IL flew inside the ADIZ for approximately 2 hours and 20 minutes. The closest point of approach on the U.S. mainland was 26 nautical miles north of Shima Island, said Canadian Armed Forces Captain Rebecca Garand, a NORAD spokeswoman in Colorado. Shima Island is one of the far western Aleutian Islands, about 1,500 miles from Anchorage, though 2,300 miles from the nearest major Russian city, Vladivostok. The island is only a few hundred miles from the northern islands that are part of Russia. NORAD said the Russian military aircraft remained in international airspace and did not enter the sovereign airspace of the United States or Canada. Russian activity in Alaska occurs regularly and is not seen as a threat, NORAD said on Wednesday. The Alaska zone stretches from the west end of the island chain across Alaska and the Canadian mainland, where it joins with the Canadian zone, which extends into St. Lawrence to the east. And you can see that visualized here, how they have that whole area cordoned off as American-Canadian airspace that they don't want anybody in. So NORAD has recorded 12 flights in the zone by Russian planes during 2024. Well, they've got more than that now. We've reported on 6 in the past week, haven't we? So, all right, there's that. And let's go down here and see. We're still staying tuned. So, I don't know. We may not get it today. Maybe we'll find something else. We talked about people's wealth. Ilhan Omar's wacky wealth surge from denying millions to a whopping $30 million net worth. Wow. She must be getting stock tips from Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi. Representative Omar reported net worth of up to $30 million in her latest financial disclosure, a document filed just months after the Congresswoman dismissed claims she was a millionaire as ridiculous and categorically false. The discourse, filed in May, shows the far-left squad lawmaker and her husband Tim Minett experienced a roughly 3,500% increase in net worth last year as compared to 2023. The surge in the couple's first wealth was first reported by the Washington Free Beacon. The financial gains come from Minett's two businesses, a Santa Rosa, California-based winery and venture capital firm headquartered in Washington, D.C. Omar valued the winery's assets between $1 million and $5 million in her latest disclosure. By comparison, the winery at St. Cruz LLC was only worth $15,000 and $50,000 in her previous financial disclosure. More dramatic was the explosion in growth experienced by Minett's venture capital firm, Rose Lake Capital LLC. Rose Lake Capitals were valued at $5 million to $25 million at the end of 2024. The company had less than $1,000 in assets the previous year. income from the venture capital firm listed as, quote, none in 2024. So she's suddenly a multimillionaire. There you go. They go up there and that's what they do. They get rich off of us. So just another one. They all do it. So it doesn't matter if they got an R or a D behind their name. They all do it. So, and we're still staying tuned. We are now a half hour behind schedule. Somebody should Google us to make sure nothing's happened in DC. He is usually very punctual. Who knows? All right, we'll keep going till something tells us not to. Remember, we just talked about this, how the meat. Well, I just killed it. I don't like these new tabs. I didn't mean to do that. You could. That's annoying. Yeah, that's so annoying. You can close it by just clicking on it if you're in the wrong place, and it's just so annoying. So, go to history. I don't know. Anyhow, well, the article went into Trump saying he was the police chief, and saying that the president can't make those claims, but yet other presidents in the past have made those claims. And it also comes to the meaning that the president wears many hats. He's the military commander in chief. He's the head librarian. He's the head Boy Scout. So he's all those things, but you don't necessarily know it. That's why it's one of the hardest jobs in the world, because you get so much responsibility for so many people. So, I mean, it could be said that he's the chief astronaut too. I mean, it's just all in the wording. You know, I agree he shouldn't say he's the police chief, but other presidents have done so, and technically it's not an incorrect way of saying he is the chief of police. I wish I hadn't closed that window by accident, because it listed year by year how many times other presidents, some Democrat even, have called himself the police chief. So I wish I could find it, but yeah, these new windows, if you got like lots of windows open, like let's say I want to read that article about Bill Belichick, and just click right there, it'll go away. Just because you're a little bit off to the right of it. So I wasn't sure if I was going to cover this, but oh man, everybody was waiting for the Bill Belichick UNC team. I mean, they've been going on about this for months now, if not a year, and it was a big festivity. Well, kind of busted. Apparently, Bill Belichick is going to start where all coaches start, in the not SEC, in the college football, is he's going to learn his lesson. So some people in there were Michael Jordan, Roy Williams, Lawrence Taylor. That fellow there looks familiar. Terry Moss. So yeah, there was all kinds of people there, and Bill Belichick. So it was a celebrity thing, but yeah, they ended up losing the game. I'm trying to. The end of the game was, what was it, 41 to 7. So yeah, it was a slaughter. So if you're a fan of Bill Belichick, I apologize, because that really was a slaughter. And I apparently wasn't even a ranked school. I don't know. I didn't watch it. So, all right, this is what we normally talk about. We'll cover the start into this, and if something changes, we'll just go check it out. This is the daily operations briefing that FEMA does daily. This one was presented at 8:30 a.m. to the commander-in-chief. FEMA is currently monitoring flooding in Alaska, and the tropics are getting to heat up again. There's a disturbance in the Atlantic, in the central and eastern. We have Tropical Storm Kiko, and one disturbance that is probably going to turn out to be something. So we look here in the central and eastern Pacific. We see that tropical storm Kiko is 1,185 miles west-southwest of the tip of Baja. It's moving west at 8 miles an hour, which means it's going to teeter out there and hopefully not do anything. Disturbance 1 is coming off the coast of Mexico and it's moving west-northwest 10 to 15 miles per hour. It's likely to become a tropical depression by midweek. Now, over in the Atlantic, Disturbance 1, well, it's located over the far eastern tropical Atlantic. It's moving west-north at 15 miles an hour. Environmental conditions appear to be conducive for slow development of the system, and a tropical depression could form later this week or early in the weekend. The next 48 hours, they're saying 0%, 7 days, 40%. If we look at the national forecast, well, there's rain from basically the New York coast down to Florida and back around over the Panhandle into Texas and the Gulf of Mexico. Spotty showers in the Midwest, primarily Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma. Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, you can anticipate some rain, as well as Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, stretching into Tennessee and Kentucky. Doesn't appear there's going to be a lot of severe weather, but we will stay tuned because California was having record lightning strikes when we went live. Tuesday, well, it's going to be some potential in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee for some heavy rain and possibly some severe weather. And then Wednesday, most of the country will just be blanketed by spotty rain. Up in the far west tip, just the tip, up in Michigan, there is a potential for the first snowfall. So the media is angry. Trump seen wearing #1 dad shirt on Father's Day. Impeachment scheduled. Yeah, agreed. We look and see the heaviest rain. Well, it looks like it's going to be down into the far south of Florida and the mid-south up to the northeast along the Great Lakes region for the next week. So the next 3 days. Excessive heat, well, pretty much everybody on the west and down in the deep south. And you get a slight reprieve in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. Just a slight reprieve. And the long-range forecast is for temperatures to decrease. It's coming out of the north, moving south-southwest. It's going to push down that heat. And here in the south, we are going to get a little break. But it could bring us some heavy showers. We'll keep our eyes on that. Space weather, well, they're saying that there's no activity. The guy I usually watch late at night, he didn't come on like 2 in the morning. I was like, I love my fans, but I'm not staying up for 2 hours to watch this because he gets long and rambling. Let's see. In Oregon, they've made 13% gain on the Jefferson fire in Oregon. It's 52% contained. And Windy Rock in Montana, though they're still battling it, it is 0% contained. 17 joint field offices are operating with 58 major declarations, 7 emergency. We're still repopulating 12 areas. I can't wait to start see that number going down. Supported disasters, we're getting help in 7, and in 6 we have offices set up in the field. Additional offices set up in the field, not just the normal ones. So you see, if I accidentally just press the wrong thing, it just goes away. So, and we're still staying tuned. We may not get it on our show today, so that'd be a shame. I would actually hate that. I kind of was looking forward to seeing what it was going to be. So the daily briefing, pretty much what we just talked about. Nothing severe scheduled. There is some lightning on California we're going to get into here in a minute. They were having some severe lightning. Tomorrow, Kansas City and Missouri looks to be the area for the most severe weather. And then down in California and Arizona, near the border, heavy raining with some storms. That's going to all sweep across the country to the south. But tomorrow, it's going to go from the Gulf of America straight up to the Great Lakes. And on day 3, which is Thursday, it's not Wednesday, I'm already confused, we can see showers across much of the United States, and that nothing real significant. We look at the National Hurricane Center and we see disturbance 1. Well, it's just sitting out here in the Atlantic, and they don't have a good spaghetti model for it yet. It was still trying to form a tropical disturbance. So let's see. So that is that one. In the Eastern Pacific, come on, Eastern Pacific, we see Lorraine in Kiko. We didn't have Lorraine. Lorraine is Lorena. And Lorena is maximum sustained wind 40 knots, and she's moving northwest at only 14 miles an hour. So she's going northwest. So hopefully she'll go out of sea and not affect anything. In the Central Pacific, we still see Kiko. It's on a course that could take it to Hawaii. Let's keep our eyes on it. Tornado chances for today. Well, they appear to be a slight, less than 2% in all areas. High winds, though, down in Southern California and lower Arizona, New Mexico. Maybe some up in the Great Lakes. And then chances for hail, pretty slim unless you're up by the Great Lakes. There is a slight chance. Let's look at the schedule here and see if we're missing anything, because it was scheduled. And there we go. 9 o'clock pool time, 11:30 a.m. press lunch with a lunch lid. So he had lunch with the press people that he surrounds himself with. And at 2 o'clock, he's still scheduled to make an announcement. So we're waiting. There was no public events on Monday. And he did go to his golf club in Washington, D.C., and there was no events over the weekend. So it was a light day, so to speak, at the White House. And let's see. This comes to us from Channel 4, WRC, Washington, D.C. Judge rules Trump of National Guard in L.A. illegal. We talked about that. Trump expects to announce U.S. Space Command is moving from Colorado to Alabama. This was 2 hours ago. We talked about that. And hundreds of economists say they supported Fed Governor Lisa Cook. Okay, 3 new updates. Hold on, let's go up here. 3 new updates. Newsom responds after judge rules Trump deployment in LA. Trump loses again. Okay. Border Patrol official who led LA enforcement to head Chicago operations. That was 1 hour ago. That's news. And it was Gregory Bavino. So grand jury declines to indict woman accused of threatening Trump. That was 1 hour ago. A federal grand jury sitting in Washington declined to return an indictment against a woman whom the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia accused threatening to take the life of the president and transmitting threats over state lines. Natalie Rose Jones of Indiana allegedly threatened Trump and called him a terrorist and a Nazi. In a voluntary interview with the Secret Service, she attended a march on August 16th that went around the White House complex and was then arrested, although she said she had no present desire to harm Trump. In a motion yesterday, her defense attorneys disclosed that the grand jury didn't indict her, so there was no probable cause. We've talked about this. We already covered that story. We talked about this with Trump expecting to announce the U.S. Space Command to move. And then we went over that. We're going to file a discharge petition to require DOJ to hand over the Epstein files. Honestly, guys, I don't think we're ever going to see him. I just wish we would start seeing people arrested and put in jail. And let's talk about the ruling in California. The government shutdown. I've heard these things come up for years, even since my grandmother worked for the government. Threats of a government shutdown. They have actually done it, and it is bad for people that work in the government, but see, as a country, we are still here. Protesters are pushing back against the federal forces. We talked about that. And there's your buddy, Governor J.B. Pritzker. He's addressing reports of federal deployments to Chicago. His news conference comes as Trump continues to threaten to send in the guard to his city, which is crime-free. So there you go. And This is talking 6 hours ago about the announcement we're waiting to hear, and shutdown looms as Congress returns after month-long August recess. So there you go. There's that. We still are waiting. We are still live and we are still tuned. So we was scheduled at 1400 or 2 o'clock. We're now 45 minutes late if you go by their schedule. So no, that wasn't the one I wanted. Which one do I want? No, go up here. Go over here. There you go. Current weather. Let's take and zoom out a little bit. And we see, if we look to the south from Jackson, Mississippi, stretching all the way up, flood warnings up all the way up almost to Chattanooga, where it breaks up a little bit and sporadically goes northeast this side of the Appalachia with some severe storms, one just outside of Knoxville here. Look down in the Gulf of America, it's stormy and rainy, and there's some severe storms down in the Keys. If you look up to Minneapolis, you'll see there is a pretty significant storm that's causing some flash flood warnings and dangerous lightning. And let's look at here. And this is Southern California. I'm not a real California native expert on how often they get rain, but seems like they've had a lot of rain and they've experienced some severe lightning today. So let's zoom out and go see if there's anything down under. I think I got a new map too to check out. And it looks like there's really not much rain, maybe some showers in Melbourne and Sydney, but it's mainly along the coastal region in Brisbane as well. So doesn't appear to be much there. Let's look at weather warnings. What's our first one going to be, Chris? Where did my schedule go? Where did my calendar go? There we go. I'm afraid I closed y'all. All right. This is courtesy of weather warning. Look right there. Test message from Maryland. I did this earlier to check and see. It was like 8:30. And there was a test message there then. So, Washington State, well, you have an air quality alert, flash flooding in Puerto Rico, flood advisory in California, Arizona, as well. There are several marine warning statements for both coasts and the shores of the Great Lakes. Special weather statement for a thunderstorm in Texas and California and Nevada. We talked flood advisory. Tennessee is having a flood advisory, heat advisory out in Washington State. And they also have a fire weather watch. We didn't see that on our big map. And small craft advisory. That's okay. That's to the Michigan, the Great Lakes up there. So there was some fog up there earlier, I saw. And red flag warning in California. That did not show up on the national forecast. Heat advisory for Idaho, Montana. Beach hazard statements for Ocracoke if you're in the Outer Banks. And flood watch, air quality alert in Arizona, Maricopa County. And flood watches, rip currents on the Floridian coastline. Minnesota, you've got some flood warnings. Montana, an air quality alert. We'll take a look at the air quality in just a minute. I want to see if there's anything else. California and Oregon, Klamath National Falls, up in there, you have a red flag warning. That was not mentioned in the weather briefing, so that is new. Well, it can't be new, but they've just issued it, I guess. It's not a condition that just suddenly happens, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's something that it's built over time, but the heat is what's really making it so. They're having fire weather watches is up in Oregon and Washington. So looking to see if there's anything else here. Extreme heat warning in Oregon and Washington and in Idaho as well. All right, let's move over here and let me close that one and come to this one. What is it? What is like a surprise? So, and we're still staying tuned. We've only got about 10 minutes left, or maybe 15. We started a few minutes late, so we're still staying tuned. I'll stay tuned when we're not live. This is a new map I just discovered, and you'll have to humor me. But I always talk about the warnings of what's going on, and you can zoom in and see on that other map, the different ones, and it's all been for stateside. And, I never knew there was one that you could pull up for the entire world, and it's so graphic. So you can see here on the Atlantic coast how they're the rip currents down the Gulf of America and then off the coast of Monterey. High heat in Puerto Rico. We look up here, they have the rip currents as well. And high heat up in the Washington, Oregon, Idaho area. And of course, it talks about all the fires up in Canada. And you have special weather considerations in Alaska. And I'm sure this has probably got to do with mudslides. Nope, it's an earthquake alert. And 11:45 UTC, so 12:45, that was about 3 hours ago. So there was an earthquake in Alaska. And let's go down here to, we can see even across the world, we see the weather warnings. So, which I think is neat because I couldn't find a map that did this earlier. We can go down to Australia and we can see there are currently no weather meteorological warnings at the moment, but you can zoom out here and you can see them for the entire world, which I think is really cool. So that is from meadowblue.com. You can check out their map there. And just like I pull up the one on the US that shows it from GEMA, shows the lower 48. Well, it actually shows Alaska too, but it shows the entire world. So pretty dang cool. It's probably an earthquake. Yep. Earthquake 5.6. Let's see, Sunday. So yeah, so there you go. If you want to check that out. And Chris, you're right. It should have started. I've been staying tuned. I was actually gonna cover it live in case it was something groundbreaking or earth shattering. And now the more we wait, the longer we wait, the more I'm kind of concerned about it. So, but it'll probably end up being like everything else, something stupid. So, all right, let's go and look at lightningmaps.org. We talked about California, how they were getting hammered earlier. That has moved cross over into New Mexico, down along the Yuma test range. But earlier today, they were just getting hammered from Los Angeles down to the tip there with Arizona, Las Vegas. I'm sorry, New Mexico. That storm had a lot of power. I think in like 3 hours, they had like 4,000 strikes. So that was a pretty dangerous storm. We look over here in the heart of the South, and the main one is from Toledo, Columbus, and it extends quite a bit of range here, northeast up to Bowling Green in Kentucky, and as far as way as Lexington. That's going to continue with the afternoon heat. They're expecting that's going to heat up across Middle Tennessee, and it'll go northeast, so we'll have some thunderstorms here in East Tennessee. Up here, we see St. Paul, Rochester. Up in Minnesota, there's a storm. It's not as potent as the other one there. I check on my friends down in Key West. They're getting some thunderstorms right now with my friends in Key West. We'll hop down to Australia and see most of your thunderstorm activity is located to your east off the coast of Sydney and Canberra. So we'll keep an eye on that. If you're in Australia, be weather aware. That storm is still off the coast, but it may come ashore. So if you have a weather radio, make sure to keep it on. So, and how are we doing? We got about 10 minutes here. We'll go through this real quick. Current temperatures: Atlanta 71, Chicago 76, Washington 74, up into up into New York at 76, down in Tampa 89, Dallas 89, and Houston 89. The hottest so far we have is a Phoenix at 101 degrees. So Las Vegas, you're right there at 97 degrees. Bakersfield, just to the north of LA, is 96 degrees. So that's got to be miserable. Up here, it's lots of heat in the Cascades in Oregon, Washington, down through the Bend. 92 in Spokane. Eugene, you're 77 just because your altitude. Medford, you're 87. Getting down here to Redland, it heats back up to 93. And we see for the forecast, New York City, today your high is 76, which you've about peaked. Cloudy skies, no rain in sight for you until the weekend, and it looks like Saturday will be a rainy weekend for you. Washington, D.C., you've got a high of 77. Sunny skies, and you as well will not have any rain until the end of the week. End of the week. Knoxville, Tennessee. Well, right now it's cloudy, high of 74. Expecting some clouds tomorrow that'll turn into thunderboomers. And then again, returning Thursday and Friday to sunny, partly sunny skies. So Mobile, Alabama, we're looking at a high of 86, nice and hot and sunny. It's going to stay that way all the way through the weekend. We'll see what it's like in Las Vegas. It's going to be hot, hotter than balls, as one of our viewers says. Las Vegas, well, your high is going to be 97 and cloudy, but for the rest of the week, it's going to be high pretty much of 97 and lots of sun. Seattle, you can expect 75 degrees, sunny skies. It'll turn cloudy close to midweek and only drop to the 80s. So, is he made the announcement? I don't see. I'm stay tuned. I stayed tuned, and I'm still there. I stayed tuned, Chris. That's what I expect it's going to be. Is they're moving the Space Force, which is cool, but we've put a lot of emphasis into this. So it seems like a lot of work just to tell us. Does that make sense? It seems like they've went to a lot of top secret mojo tactics when they could have just said, oh, we're going to have a press conference and say this is the blah, blah, blah. So, seems kind of pointless to me, but what do I know? I'm just a guy with a mic. So, all right, let's go down here to Australia and check out our friends' weather in Sydney. Well, Sydney, your high is going to be 21 Celsius today, sunny skies. And you'll peak out tomorrow with some cloudy skies at a high of 24. Melbourne, well, you're currently 17 and rainy skies. You're going to continue to rain tomorrow. It's going to clear up by the end to midweek. And this is currently your high until the weekend. Then you get a break when it'll be up to the 20s. Our friends over at Alice Springs, it'll come up. Alex Springs, 22 is your high today. Sunny skies. You will get to 32 by midweek. So hang in there. It'll warm up for you. Up in Darwin. Where are you at, Darwin? It is 32 is your high today. And it's going to be sunny skies. And 32 is pretty much going to be your high for the entire week with nice and sunny skies. So go down to Perth. And we see here, well, you got cloudy skies with a high of 20. That's your high for the week. Tomorrow will be sunny, but rain's moving in. And by the weekend, it's going to get windier. So, and he had to announce Huntsville will be known as Rocket City. Weren't they already known as Rocket City? I thought they were for some reason. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever driven to Huntsville, but Huntsville is a very difficult city to get to. So it seems to me it would make a good choice to put something like that there because of the way the terrain is with the mountains. You can't drive there directly. You have to go around and come in one of the other major cities in either Alabama or Tennessee, Arkansas, unless you're coming from the west. But even then you don't have a straight shot. It's really a weird place to get to map wise. And from Atlanta, Georgia, it takes me like 8 hours to get there, which is crazy because you got to go north to come back south. So it's really just kind of nuts. So let's see here. We'll wrap up real quick here. The heat risk we talked about on the West Coast and pretty much all the country code yellow. Florida, you're still a code orange. So keep your sunscreen on. Stay hydrated if you're down there. And we'll look here at the global wind map and see, wow, the U.S. is, well, it's kind of stagnant. So that's why the heat's sitting up here on the east. But if we notice, we can already start to see it coming down from Canada just ever so slightly. That little front is going to form and get a little stronger, bring the cool air from Canada. We hop over to the Atlantic, and we see that that storm disturbance 1 is in line with the wave coming off of Africa. So it may gain some electricity, but it'll be further into the Atlantic and more to the north. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Down in Australia, well, it looks like it's not going to be that much of a windy day, except maybe to the southern side of the continent. Other than that, it's going to be pretty calm and wind free. So there you go. And we're still not live. All right. I'm about to run over here. So we're going to, let's see. Well, let's look at this real quick. If you have health conditions, it's code red and code yellow for much of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, express stretching, extending over to the Dakotas and down. And all along the coast of California, it's a code yellow. Larger cities in Texas and in Mississippi, code yellow. And if you're in other areas, you could be experiencing, with false fog going away, it came out with heat that brought a little bit of, well, you guessed it, pollen. All right, we'll look at fires real quick. And we see those over in the west, which we've already talked about. And nothing new this side of the Mississippi. So let's see. We are running out of time here. No space weather. And fire smoke map, we see pretty much like we talked about, the country is stagnant right now. So the wind is just kind of keeping it just sitting in place from the fires out west. So it's not that great, but it's not moving is the problem. We look at the air quality index for the world. Let's take this one off and see what we have here. Well, maybe we will. It's like waiting on the president to sign in. Come on. He forgot his sign-in code. Let's see. What do we have here? There are no current earthquake. Well, that was 6 hours ago, a 5.2 in Afghanistan. They need a break there because of the ones they had over the weekend that were so powerful. So, and we look and see the most recent one was offshore of California. And it's been, well, what was that? It's been about 6 hours for that one. So that's the most recent ones in the United States. San Francisco Bay experienced one over the weekend for the U.S. That's the main ones. Australia, you have not had any earthquake or seismic activity according to this site. We look at volcanoes and we see, well, pretty much from South America all the way up through to the West Coast, the ones are active. We do have some watches. Kilauea, which is, of course, over in Hawaii, it's code orange. Great Sitkin, which is close to Russia in Alaska, code orange. Shishalden, well, your code yellow, and I'm not sure where Shishalden is, so let's just zoom in and go see. And it's in Alaska, so... All right, so there you go. We are out of time. We are running over. Everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. We got through most of it. I wanted to talk about, I'm trying to think if there was something else I wanted to say or do, but we got through most of the news, and there was no more recent line of duty deaths. That's always good news. So we got through most of it. I wanted to there's the power outages. California is the highest, with Texas, Pennsylvania, and New York following up. Denise, you are welcome. Thank you. I was having a bad day the other day, and I just was ready to turn this whole thing off and never do this again. I just was frustrated. So thank you. And I will stay tuned. And if the president makes some breaking news announcement, we'll cover it tomorrow. Everybody have a great day, a great afternoon. This is the Bitdefender map. You can go check it out. It's real-time cyber security threats. It shows what's going on and what's happening. And as always, America is being, well, hammered. That's what happens to us. So, all right. Denise, thank you. I appreciate that. Some days I need the words of encouragement, so I do appreciate it. It means a lot. Everybody have a great day. Sportcat, I'm signing out of here. Let me push some buttons here. I'll see you guys tomorrow.